स्वराज्य साम्राज्य विभूतिरेषा भगवत्कृपा श्रीमहिमप्रसादात् प्राप्ता मया श्रीगुरवे महात्मने नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु नमस्तस्मै सदैकस्मै कस्मै चिन्महसे नमः यदेतद्विश्वरूपेण राजते गुरुराजते यदेतद्विश्वरूपेण राजते गुरुराजते। हरि ओम तत्सत्। जय गुरु। We will start with the Shanti Patha of Mundakopanishad. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So, from the mantra 2, where how Angiras, the teacher of this Mundakopanishad, how the knowledge came to him, that has been described in 2 mantras full. So I mentioned the other day that it gives the importance of sampradaya. Sampradaya means Guru Parampara. Right in the beginning of the Upanishad, how much of importance has been given to Guru Parampara. Then comes the 3rd shloka where the Upanishad says, Shaunako havai mahashalo angirasam vidhivad upasanna papracha kasminnu bhagavo vidyate sarvamidam vidyatam bhavati iti. I think you should chant this. This I will repeat. Shaunako havai mahashalo angirasam vidhivad upasanna papracha kasminnu bhagavo vidyate sarvamidam vidyatam bhavatiti. So in this connection, I came over to the Anubandha Chatushtaya, which is true for all Shastras, all good writings, compositions. What are the Anubandha Chatushtaya? That the subject should be clearly spoken of. In any Vedantic text, the subject is Brahman and Atma and the identity of Brahman and Atma. That we have already told you, last class we have done it. Then the second one is what is going to be the benefit if I read the Shastras. Anybody studying, unless he knows the benefit, there is no point in reading the Shastras. Why should he read? It is not for making one a Pandit, it is for some real purpose. So, the purpose of most of these Shastras is to attain the supreme knowledge and bliss. Now, when we say that, always you should remember, I have been repeating and repeating, that there are two very important aspects of our inner personality. One is the buddhi, another is the emotion. The emotional mind and the intelligence. Now, knowledge is basically for the intelligence. Why? Because the ignorance, the delusion is seated in the buddhi, that we are not able to understand the truth. So, the entire knowledge, the ultimate knowledge of the ultimate truth, it makes the buddhi satisfied, fulfilled, illumined. And parallelly what happens in this supreme knowledge, what happens is that there will be a corresponding emotional fulfillment also. Because when we understand who we are, then we understand that we are bliss personified. The bliss is our birthright. The Ananda is always, it is a natural parameter of our own identity. So we don't have to look for the bliss. Then comes the other one, benefits could be there as in various backdrops I am talking about. To relieve one from grief. This grief is very important, and we find that in spirituality, perhaps much more number, more than 99% people come to get relieved of the dukkha, grief. Very few, rare few come really for knowledge. So, grief has been given great importance in our Shastras. The Shastras should free us of the grief and make us delighted. Then the third one comes, the seeker's fitness, that is adhikara we say. Adhikara generally we say right, but in Sanskrit it means both. Right is also there as a gauna meaning, but basically it is a fitness. When you are fit for something, you will have the right to operate. Suppose you have not got the driving license and you want to drive the car, as many children they do, without having anything they want to take the father's car and go. So it is not having the adhikara to drive, it is not right. The right to drive the car is coming from your fitness to drive the car. That is when you have the license. Similarly, any arsenal, very powerful atomic bomb or anything, one should have the fitness to own it. If the mind is not under control, then any powerful instrument or weapon given to the person, it will cause only danger. Even in little smaller instruments also it is true. Even the cooking gas also it is true. The person should have enough of mental balance and mental maturity to handle any powerful thing. Otherwise there will be great calamity. That is why the Brahmastra was not given to Ashwatthama. And you can easily know from Mahabharata, Ashwatthama wanted Sri Krishna's chakra, the Sudarshana chakra. Sri Krishna said, you take it, it is lying there, why don't you take it? Ashwatthama went there and he cannot even move it, could not even move it. So why these are pictured? That to have the Brahmastra, which is the highest weapon thought of in our country those days, it needed the highest possible mental balance, like Vyasadeva had, Sri Krishna had, like that. So this fitness is very important. Similarly, there is fitness for the teacher also. It is only not for the disciple. The teacher also should be fit to deliver the message. See how Mundaka Upanishad beautifully pictures that here in the third mantra, which I just now said, Shaunako havai mahashalaha angirasam vidivad upasannah papracha. That Shaunaka was a great householder. I have explained it already in the last class. Great householder means he has lived the household life in the proper manner according to the Vedic injunctions. And whenever you live household life properly, based on dharma, which you learn, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, based on dharma, when you fulfill the rightful desires, then you will be able to outlive all the desires. I keep it off center. If the sound is proper, it is okay. Otherwise, I will change it. Oh, achha. I will put it farther off center to not to cover the face. What I was saying? That our dharma codes, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, it has to be practiced and learnt in the manner so that you fulfill your rightful desires based on dharma. If you do it, you will find that you have already outlived all the kamas. Then you become fit for moksha. Then you come to Angiras and ask for kasminnu bhagavo vidyate sarvamidam vidyatam bhavatiti. By knowing what, everything will be known. That means he is a seeker of knowledge, which is very rare. Here Nachiketa also was a seeker of knowledge. Here also he is a seeker of knowledge. Now, in later stage, in 1.2.12, if I am correct, the Angiras, here it is talked about, the Upanishad is speaking about Angiras. Who was Angiras? How he was fit? Because he came down from a proper parampara, receiving the knowledge through a proper lineage. All these things are already mentioned. Then in Angiras's discourse, he is saying, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayan nasti agritah kritena tad vijnanatham sagurumeva bhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyo brahmanishtha. He says that these are all qualities of both Guru and the Shishya. What should the seeker do? Pariksha lokan. He has to examine everything that is available to his mind. The Ihaloka means whatever is available in the world, directly here, and whatever the scriptures are talking about, the other life, heaven, hell, everything. He should analyze everything. What are these benefits and world they have spoken of? Everything is karma chitan. That is our entire world, including the heaven and hell and the other world we think about, the imaginary worlds. Everything is karma chitan. That means you do something and as a result of that you have. I have repeatedly said that in this world, you don't find anything without causality. If you want to push the table there, you have to put your force to shift. Unless the cause is there, the effect will not be had. So everything is karma chitan. Karma chitan does not only mean that you do the yajna and that result. That is definitely karma chitan in the ancient sense. Now you don't do the yajna. But for you also everything is karma chitan. Because throughout life you are doing something, expecting something at the end. So everything you do and have the effect of it. So he says that the seeker must examine this karmachitan lokan, that entire causal universe, seen or unseen or everything. He should become nirvedamayat, he should become dispassionate about it, he should have enough of indifference. Why? Because whatever he has wanted, he has not got throughout his life. He wanted happiness. So how can he expect that going to the heaven he will be happy? Even if he becomes happy, it is only temporary. Again he has to come down somewhere. Maybe have to go to the hell or to the earth. So he has to analyze everything that has been spoken of. Is it going to fulfill me? He has to understand that I want fulfillment in life. That is, I want something which will not make me anymore look for anything. Just as in Bhagavad Gita, yam prapya yam labdhva chaparam labham manyatena adhikam tata. By getting something which fulfills you, you don't look for anything else. Like that, I must go to that level where I will not look for anything else from the world, because world I have seen, everything is fragile, everything is temporary, everything is short-lived. So I will not look for anything from the world to have happiness or make me fulfilled. So what should you do then? Nirvedamayat nasti akrita kritena. What does he understand? That akritaha means which is not out of any work, which is not coming out of any cause, any work done, any effort. Kritena means by something done. Krita. Krita means which is always done. Everything in life we see around is krita. For everything we have to do something to get a result in this universe. But Akrita is only one. What is Akrita? That is our Atma. That Akrita is not within the fold of causality, not within the fold of time, space, anything. It is a consciousness in which the whole universe is appearing to be, and it never changes. That is why the Ananda I spoke about just now, which is our birthright, which is the parameter of our identity, real identity. That Ananda, Atmananda is called Akrita Ananda. Akrita means it is not like other, you take some sweet and then you feel happy. You get married and then you feel happy. You get a job and then you feel happy. These are all Krita Ananda. But the joy which is welling forth from the soul always, from your own identity, that is Akrita. You don't have to acquire it by doing anything. But why are we missing it? Because we are always trying to have it by doing something. That doing something, we are wanting it from the outside. And that is why we are not able to feel the Ananda which is always there in us. So when we stop looking outside, that Ananda floods us. So a seeker should analyze all these things and come to the conclusion that to have this Akritananda and to know this Akrita, unchanging, imperishable self, it cannot be had by doing anything, any of the yaga yajnas or any amount of societal fame, name, property, wealth and whatnot, children. Nothing can give us. So, but how to get it? The scriptures are saying that that is our birthright, that is the parameter of our own real identity, but I don't know, I don't understand. So what shall I do? Go to somebody who has understood, who has discovered it, who says that he knows it. So what does he do? Gurum eva avigachet. Go to a guru. And what kind of a guru? Shrotriyo brahmanishtaha. See? It is not only for the seeker. What is the seeker? Samitpanihi means carry firewood in your hand. That means go with humility. Carry something which will be useful for the guru. Suppose you like ice cream and you give guru the ice cream. Guru doesn't take ice cream. In giving something, offering to the guru, you must take something which will be useful for him. Generally, to the God we offer whatever we like. That is why the prasada is different in different places. In our temple it is something, in Ayodhya temple it is something, in Chardhama, in all the dhamas it is different. Because each place we are offering according to our own likes. We don't care about, because it is God, God will never tell us anything. But when we are going to the Guru, there should be enough of love, fondness, because it is the last thing in life. We are going for what? For having the ultimate knowledge or the ultimate realization of our real identity, or having the bliss or ananda which is independent of any state, which will never perish. So we have to take something which the Guru likes. How will you take that unless you have fondness for the Guru? Unless you love the Guru, you will take always wrong things to the Guru, because you are taking according to your taste and your own likes and dislikes. See how they are, we have to analyze, we have to hit in our brain these things. Otherwise we will never grow. A seeker never grows because of that, because he doesn't do the vichara. We have to think that what is this humility they are talking about? Everybody goes to the Guru and gives a long prostration. That is not humility. Humility is to understand from a distance itself what the Guru wants and do it accordingly. Whatever the Guru says, we generally find whatever the Guru says, the Shishya will do the opposite of it. That's a common thing. So, when I speak, I can become very harsh. You are all not seen by me, so it doesn't matter. But when I speak with people in front, automatically the words will come out which will go deep and hurt them, which will prick them, so that they undergo a change. That is the purpose of everything. So he says that vijnanarthat, to have that realized knowledge or to discover the truth about it, sa gurum eva avigachet, he must go to the Guru. And how? Samitpanihi, with enough of humility, carrying something which is good for the Guru. And Shrotriyo Brahmanishtha, what kind of a Guru he will go? Who has already realized the fundamental truth of the Shastras. He may not know all the Shastras, it is not necessary. But he knows what are the Shastras speaking about. He knows that the Atma and the Brahman are the same. He knows what is his real identity. He knows that all the Ananda are coming from inside. So I don't have to run after anything or run away from anything. I am already in Ananda. That is the Shrotriya Guru. And he has to be Brahmanishta. Who is a Shrotriya? Who has known that the identity itself is Brahman, the substratum for the entire universe. It is universal. One who has known that, will he not be having full nishtha to that? Will he again run after small things? For what? That means his knowledge is not pakka. A person who has known the Brahman, known the Atma, if he still runs after small things for some joy or delight or so, that means his knowledge is not ripe. It has not become pure. He has to purify his knowledge. So such a person cannot become a Guru. The Guru has to be Shrotriyo Brahmanishtha, Shrotriyaha Brahmanishtha, such a Guru. So, see how the context, that is my topic now. We started with Mundaka Upanishad, but what I am trying to picture is how from the background, how from the statements, we have to analyze and come to know what are we supposed to do, why are we studying this, where are we supposed to go, all these things. So, the fitness, although it is generally the adhikara of the seeker, but we can understand it as fitness, as well as fitness of the seeker, as well as the Guru. Now, I have already completed last day about Kathopanishad, Nachiketa, and discussed otherwise also throughout Kathopanishad. And there the question was about death and the teacher was Yamaraja. Then we came to Mundaka Upanishad. That also more or less I had discussed. Shaunaka, an ideal householder, outlived worldly desires. Angiras, renowned lineage, Sampradaya, from Brahma, the creator. And enquiry, what was the enquiry? Ultimate knowledge. By knowing what? Everything becomes known. That was in the third slide. Now let us come to, the discussion is not over. I will come back again and again to these things, taking each Shastra. Now let us come to Brihadaranyaka. Now in Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya, it is not just one story, because Mundakopanishad, Kathopanishad, they are brief. It is only with one seeker and one teacher. But Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya and many others, there are many teachers, many seekers like that. Although Brihadaranyaka, the main rishi is Yajnavalkya. It is based on him. I will come back to this slide, backdrop 3, but let me read out. I had taken from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad the Yajnavalkya-Maitreyi Samvada, the conversation between Yajnavalkya and his wife Maitreyi. Those who were there for the Guru Purnima, they have listened to it. There is no harm in listening to it more and more also. And I may not say the same thing also, it may become different as I speak. I will read something from what I had taken during Guru Purnima this time. Why am I giving so much of detail? It is to give you the idea of a society, a knowledge-oriented society. Our country is famous for knowledge. We may be poor, we may not have many things, we may not have many weapons also, we may not have many technologies also, but the knowledge we have, with which we are the richest in the world, and how can we say that we are richest? Because we don't want anything at all. Such a knowledge we have. And that has been the mainstay of our country throughout. These Upanishads, we don't know how long back it was written. And earlier also I said there have been societal waves of up and down waves have been there. And sometimes the Karmakanda, the Yaga Yajna became so prominent, and those who were the priests conducting the Yaga Yajna, for their own selfish motive, they made it so much tied down people to various kinds of do and don'ts based on achara and the injunctions, Vedic injunctions. So the society started declining. That is why Buddhism had to come and spread all over the country. When Buddha came, from Buddha's story we understand he went from ashram to ashram, and he was a prince, he was an aristocratic person. So everything was available before him. He moved from ashram to ashram, and everywhere wherever he went, he could not find a single person who could reply his enquiry. And everywhere there was bali going on, animal sacrifice, maybe human sacrifice also. Such was the situation. So Buddha's, perhaps that the Buddhism is the first organized religion. It came much before Christianity and Islam. And Hinduism is a name given later on. It is not a religion at all. It's a civilization. The Indian civilization was called Hindu. It is not a name of any religion. So Buddha or Jaina or our Ramanuja or Shankaracharya, all are philosophers of our country who together make the Indian culture, the culture of Bharat. So India has been passing through ups and downs like that. Now when Buddhism ruled for quite a few hundred years, at least 500 to 700, 1200 years, when Shankaracharya came. Now Shankaracharya had to take a step to fight out the wrongs on which Buddhism was based at that time. Buddhism also underwent lot of changes. Within 20 years of Buddha's passing away, it had more than 20 factions, and each were practicing differently, and it also went into various things to do with the other world, this and that. Many things happened. And people were again tied down by the organized religion. Like that, it goes on in the society. So what our rishis, maharshis, they try to do is to first of all, bring back the society on its real path, on its auspicious path, and then try to give a societal code, a moral code, or some practices which will keep the society on track. So those knowers who have this great societal dimension they are generally called Maharshi. Maharshi means Maharishi. Rishi means one who sees the truth. As we say that this truth is not, the Upanishads are not written by anything. Whatever they discovered, it is an experimental record of those inner discoveries. Those are the Upanishads. Now, the Rishis are those who see the truth. Maharshis are having a greater comprehensive dimension where they see the truth of the society and the world also. So they can understand to which way the world is moving, the society is moving, how it can be given some correction, what are the corrections needed for the society, what are the wrong, negative forces working in the society. These are Maharshi's job. Another is Rajarshi. Rajarshi means Raja Rishi. That means kings. To rule the kingdom properly, they had to become knower. You will find all great kings in our country, they are referred to as Rajarshis generally for the ancient period. Janaka Maharaja was also called a Rajarshi. He had his own sadhana and he also had his emancipation. He had the knowledge. Now I will read out a little. Yajnavalkya was one of the greatest Maharshis we know of. Rishis are knowers of truth with rare human and societal dimensions are called Maharshis. Vyasa is called Maharshi because of his great social dimension. Because of their multidimensional knowledge and deep understanding of the needs of human personality as well as the society, the Maharshis often author the code of conduct for the contemporary societies. They are generally called Smriti. Sometimes they are also called Samhita. These names are not fully critical. They sometimes overlap also. Smriti means whatever we can remember and write. That is basically Smriti. But Manusmriti, it is depending on the societal condition at that time, Manu has given those codes. Similarly, there is something called Yadhyavalkya Smriti. That is, Yadhyavalkya had given the code of conduct, at that time the law and jurisprudence and all, he had written down, which are based on the society. Now, in the Smritis, the main point is they will have to have their base on the Shruti or on the fundamental truth of Atma and Brahman. That truth the fundamental spiritual truth they should be based on. But they will have to give the moral codes and all, they will have to take care of the society also. So that those smritis are liable to change. As the time changes, the societal changes take place, those codes also will have to change. But the fundamental part of it, the Shruti, that does not undergo any change. That is the Upanishadic truth, the truth about our identity that never can undergo any change. So other compositions are based on this fundamental truth, but taking into account of the contemporary society also. Yajnavalkya is famous for the Yadhyavalkya Smriti. Also, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the largest of all Upanishads, Yajnavalkya is the main teacher or Rishi, Maharshi. Rajarshi Janaka of Mithila is another illustrious character in our scriptures. He, apart from being a knower himself, was a great admirer of scholars, philosophers and saints. See, these philosophy and spirituality cannot grow in its full blossom unless the kings and the administrators, they support it. Any good thing to run in the country and overflow the country to blossom like a beautiful lotus flower, the king or the administrators are very important. Without that, the social structure will not allow the blossoming of the spiritual lotus. Janaka you have already heard of. There is a Ashtavakra Samhita, which is a conversation between Janaka and Ashtavakra. So there also there is a backdrop. If I go on saying all these things, then Mundakopanishad will never come, but that is also very interesting backdrop. The Ashtavakra had 8 bends in his body. So bodily, apparently, he was looking quite ugly. So when he entered Janaka Raja's Sabha, where all are supposed to be great scholars and rishis and all that, there was a big laughter around. Then seeing them, Ashtavakra Maharshi also started laughing. That touched Janaka Raja. Arey, everybody is laughing. The person seeing whom they are laughing, he should feel shrunk. He should feel shy. But here he is also laughing, even maybe louder than others. So naturally I have to ask that why are you laughing? I understand they are laughing seeing your bodily structure. But why are you laughing? Ashtavakra replied that I have heard that Janaka Raja is a great Rajarshi and his sabha is full of all great scholars and knowers and whatnot. But I find that his sabha is full of all charmakaras, all the chamaras, that is, what do you call it, the shoemakers. Why shoemakers? Because they handle the skin. Shoemakers are always handling the skin. And your great scholars, they are only seeing my body. Just like that. They are not looking at the Atma at all, looking at the inside mind or the property, inner treasure at all. Seeing somebody having a little strange structure, they are all rolling in laughter. So I also laughed that this is what our Janaka Raja is. This is what the people he is listening to, and this is his great sabha, where I have come thinking that there will be some great discussion and all. So these stories are all important. Everywhere it is full of this, so that we can learn from there and we apply in our life. Now this is what Janaka Raja in Mithila. Now Mithila was a great center of learning for a long time. Mithila is presently in Bihar. Janaka Raja, Sita, etc., those names are still there in different places. Different small places are also named after them, where maybe they will say, well, here Janaka Raja took food while going for Mrigaya, for hunting and all. So many things they will say. Anyway, that Mithila and this eastern India at one time was a center of learning. During Buddha period also, the Nalanda came up there only. Before that also, during Janaka Raja's period, long back, it was a center of learning. When Bhaktiar Khilji came, he burnt all the educational centers, of which Nalanda, they say the library burnt for 3 months. The fire was there. And thousands of teachers and students they burnt alive. What for? Nobody knows. Not only that, there were other universities, not only Nalanda. Nalanda has 20,000 students and 5,000 teachers, I think, if I am correct. 1:5 it was. 4,000 teachers or so, something like that. The ratio was 1:5, I remember. There was Vikramashila University, there were others. There were 5 universities in eastern India at that time. Everything was destroyed by Bhaktiar Khilji. Now this is what the Mithila is, where Janaka Raja was the ruling Rajarshi. Janaka Raja, apart from being a knower himself, was a great admirer of scholars, philosophers and saints. Because of him, Mithila had become a famous center of scriptural learning. Most of the discussions on truth recorded in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad took place in Mithila. Even the 2 distinguished female ascetic knowers, Maitreyi and Gargi Vachaknavi, these are the 2 Brahma Vidushi, we say, the female knowers, Maitreyi and Gargi. Everybody would have heard their names. They also hailed from Mithila. Now this story, it's not story, the situation in Mithila will give you a beautiful idea of the culture of that society. That is why I am relating this. Yajnavalkya was regarded as the most illustrious Brahmajnani of Mithila and was greatly revered by King Janaka. Whenever Yajnavalkya will come, Janaka will have some questions to ask him and the discussions will start from there. Yajnavalkya was married to Katyayani, the daughter of Rishi Katyayana. I think the Katyayana or Katyayana, I don't know very well. So Yajnavalkya was married to a daughter of another Rishi, Katyayana. That is why her name was Katyayani. He had his ashram near Mithila. This Katyayana Rishi, Katyayani's father, had also his ashram close to Mithila, because around the main town, main capital, there will be lots of ashrams in the forest. They led an ideal, they means Yajnavalkya and Katyayani, led an ideal household life of peace and contentment. Yajnavalkya was mostly engaged in his spiritual as well as scholarly pursuits, and Katyayani looked after the household with her extraordinary wisdom and poise. In course of time, they had 4 sons, Katyayana, Chandrakanta, Mahamedha and Vijaya. All the 4 in their own time became renowned for their knowledge of Vedas and Upanishads. So Yajnavalkya and Katyayani had 4 sons. All of them were very good knowers, they became in that time. Assisting King Janaka as a minister was a learned Vedic scholar and sage named Mitra. King Janaka had a minister called Mitra. He was also a scholar and sage. So try to imagine the situation. All these people, if we could go there, we will find that they were perhaps having just one uttariyam and one dhoti around, or on a shawl sometimes, and moving around maybe with hairs and beard and all, what we don't know. We have that kind of an imagination about Rishi. But the fact is that internally they were all given to the inner treasure, not bothered about the outer treasure at all. And such people were the ministers of the king. Such people were the Sabha members of the great king. Now this Mitra had an accomplished, beautiful daughter called Maitreyi. Mitra's daughter, so Maitreyi. This was the way names were given. Accomplished and beautiful daughter Maitreyi, who was exclusively dedicated to the pursuit of spiritual knowledge. So this Mitra, the minister of Janaka, his daughter was given to right from birth, right from childhood, was given to the pursuit of Vedantic knowledge. And how? Under the guidance of her maternal aunt, the erudite Vedic scholar Gargi. So all of you must have heard about Maitreyi and Gargi. See that how they were related. They were all from Mithila and around. And one's father was the minister of Janaka. Another was closely living in an ashram whose daughter was married to Yajnavalkya. All this was constituting the Mithila society. So Maitreyi was under the tutelage of her aunt Gargi. Once Gargi had taken Maitreyi, her niece, to a special yajna organized by King Janaka. King Janaka was organizing some yajna. Yajna used to be performed, even if the king is a knower, he will perform some yajna from time to time for the benefit of the entire world, for the benefit of his people also. Earlier also I said it was a necessity, economic necessity also. through a huge yajna like Ashwamedha yajna and all, the whole property is to be distributed amongst the praja, amongst the people. Whenever the coffer will get filled, the minister will come and tell the king that our coffer is full, Maharaj, please do this yaga or that yaga, in which preparation will go on for 1 year or so. And all the artisans, all the people, they will get paid liberally for that. So it was a channel by which the money got distributed amongst the people again. So the king would collect the tax but again distribute. So Gargi had taken Maitreyi to a yajna in which yajna conducted by, arranged by Raja Janaka. Now there she happened to see the erudition of Yajnavalkya. How? Because during this yajna, there will be lot of spiritual discussions and question answers taking place. Try to imagine the situation. This yajna, this was a major part of the yajna. That is why our Swamiji had moved from temple to temple, and everywhere he suggested that the temple money is not for putting gold on the temple roof or the dhwaja. The gold given to the temple is a devotional offering that should be used for preservation and propagation of devotion. How will it happen? The temple should arrange such programs like Bhagavata Satram, other major programs where people will come and participate and their devotion will grow, their knowledge will grow. That is part of the devotion, that is the object of devotional offering. So there in that, there used to be argument also. Many people would question Yajnavalkya. In Brihadaranyaka such scenes are also there. It's worth reading. Beautiful such scenes that the question answers. We think that we have got a great question to ask Swamiji. Nobody has ever asked. You will find that there is no question which has not been asked. Every questions already they have been asked and they have been replied in the scriptures. So they are seeing Yajnavalkya replying to so many scholars, the bigger than the biggest scholars have come and they are asking questions, and everything Yajnavalkya is replying in clear terms without any doubt. So Maitreyi felt that if at all anybody should be my preceptor, if I have to go to somebody, this is the person I must learn. Such a person where shall I get? Maitreyi got impressed by the unparalleled wisdom and clarity of Yajnavalkya. In exposing Brahmajnana, she keenly observed how with incisive rational arguments Yajnavalkya could reply and defeat scholar after scholar. She realized that to acquire the ultimate knowledge of truth, there was no better preceptor and teacher than Yajnavalkya. However, being an unmarried young woman, it was not possible for her to become a disciple in the Gurukulam of Yajnavalkya. Hence, she thought the only way to attain her objective was to marry Yajnavalkya, which again was not easy because she knew that he was already married to her own friend Katyayani. Now, Katyayani and Maitreyi were friends. After discussing with her aunt Gargi, she felt the only way was to get the agreement of Katyayani for the proposal. So her aunt, there is a little whistling coming, can you adjust it? Some mic is on, other mic is on. So, Gargi suggested that I will do something, don't worry. With the consent of her parents, Maitreyi went along with Gargi to Katyayani and told her in detail about her problem. To Katyayani, what are you able to imagine? They are proposing to Katyayani that Yajnavalkya should marry Maitreyi, and Maitreyi will become the co-wife of Katyayani. They are proposing to Katyayani. But Gargi had the confidence to ask. Large-hearted Katyayani, realizing Maitreyi's pure intention and need, agreed. This is what the greatness of our Indian heart. My dear souls, you should try to imagine in your mind, and it is really not so rare in our country. You will find such hearts are still there in our country. Who will agree? Katyayani agreed. Understanding the pure intention and need of Maitreyi, that it is for spiritual purpose, not for sex or anything. She even went to the extent of presenting the proposal before her husband herself and asking him to fulfill Maitreyi's desire. See? Katyayani said, you don't have to do anything. I will tell my husband to marry you. Can you imagine? There was a long discussion when Katyayani went to Yajnavalkya and proposed Maitreyi's marriage with Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a very poised knower with lot of clarity. So what did he do? There was a long discussion. Yajnavalkya cautioned Katyayani that difference of opinion may crop up later. Difference of opinion between you and Maitreyi. And she may even become, that is you, that is Katyayani, may even become jealous of Maitreyi. But Katyayani was clear and confident in her mind. Seeing her sincerity, Yajnavalkya acceded to the request and took Maitreyi as his second wife. Now, how they are living, see that. Yajnavalkya, Katyayani and Maitreyi settled down to lead a life of peace and understanding. Not a life of jagda, quarreling. The daughter-in-law and mother-in-law also cannot stay together because of jagda, quarreling. Here two wives, co-wives. Both the wives together used to help Yajnavalkya in conducting the Vedic karmas. In Vedic karma, the wife has to participate. So whenever he would do any Vedic karma, the two wives would come, they would participate equally with Yajnavalkya. In the evenings, three of them used to discuss many spiritual subjects. Will you discuss like that? In the evenings, three of them together used to discuss spiritual subjects. This is the life of a real seeker, my dear soul. Our Ramakrishna Dev also has mentioned, I have forgotten the place in Kathamrita, it is there, of one of the disciples, when about him somebody was saying something. He mentioned that, he and his wife, they lying in the night, lying on the bed, they discuss about God, about Vedanta, something he mentioned, Adhyatmik. It should be like that. And that is what they are saying, that if you live the life properly, you will outlive everything. Otherwise, we are not enjoying life also properly, and that half enjoyment, that half fulfillment is, we are carrying on to our last breath, still not outliving the desires of the tongue and sex and whatnot. That is because we have not lived the kama properly to outlive the kama. See, all of them were married. And they got married for what? Another marriage he agreed to take place, he acceded to, just for the spiritual sake of a disciple. And how they were living, all three of them. Katyayani was an ideal and virtuous housewife. looking after the needs of the family, husband, relatives, and also guests with great care and reverence. Maitreyi was a seeker of knowledge and had realized early in life the ephemeral nature of this phenomenal existence. Yet, Yajnavalkya would ask her to get engaged in household work so that she could derive the benefit of coursing through the disciplines and austerities of household life. See, this is what the Guru is. Here you will find lot of seekers join only to study. They think that Swamiji only give lecture and I will listen to the lecture. And they don't want to move from the books. It has happened to many. Not only here, everywhere, wherever we go. So the Guru has to put them in some household work or some looking after the ashram work or anything like that. Because that has great purificatory effect on us. Now, suppose there also, if you flout the dharma, what do? When you have to do some ashram work, you don't like to do it, so you will not do it properly, so you will not have the fulfillment from it. You will do it in a half-hearted manner. So neither you will be growing in that sadhana of purification, nor your knowledge will be complete. The knowledge is not a knowledge from the book. It's the purity of the mind, which can take up any work, any time, which comes to be done without any reservation. My dear souls, you should understand, you have to think about it. How the sadhana proceeds, it's not easy. It is easy, provided you understand it and you do it in this manner. It is easy. Because it is so fulfilling. Every moment your mind will be fulfilled with the liberality, the largeness of your mind, the sky-like dimension of the mind will keep you always fulfilled. So, although Maitreyi was given only to studies and all, Yajnavalkya used to force her to do some work, household work, to think about others, to help others, to serve others. Household or garhasthya ashrama is considered to be the most important of the four ashramas. That is brahmacharya, garhasthya, vanaprastha and sannyasa. All the three, that brahmacharya, vanaprastha and sannyasa, they are living on the earned money of the grihasthas. That is why Swamiji says that even a single drop of blood in my body is out of the contribution of the devotees. Brahmacharis are supported by garhastha. No brahmachari nor sannyasin is born in the ashram. They are born in household only. The vanaprasthas also have to be given alms to survive by the grihasthas, by the householders. A sannyasin, for his work, survival and propagation of knowledge, for everything he has to depend on the householders. It is a duty of the householders, not duty. They should feel fulfilled in serving the sannyasins by helping them to fulfill their job. So all the other three ashramas are actually depending on garhasthya. So grihastha ashrama is given the greatest importance in our shastras. Because it is the foundation of the society, it is the support of the other three ashramas. To live the life of an ideal householder needs lofty characteral dimensions, because unless you have the characteral dimensions, they will not be inherited by your children. We say that spirituality, to inherit the proper spiritual, pure spiritual current, it needs 7 generations. That somebody starts becoming a little spiritual. After 7 generations, a real sannyasin will be born there in his family. That is why this sampradaya, parampara, these are so important. To live the life of an ideal householder needs lofty characteral dimensions, and these dimensions make one fit for sannyasa, the fourth ashrama. The introductory story above of this story speaks of the rare dimensions of Katyayani, as a housewife. As years passed, Yajnavalkya got more and more immersed in the blissful embrace of the non-dual Atma. He had already fulfilled the bidding of his divine teacher by imparting the intricate knowledge of Shukla Yajurveda to a few deserving disciples. His teaching job he had already done. Additionally, he could also codify the Yadhyavalkya Smriti, the foundation of the edifice of common law and jurisprudence. Yajnavalkya could not anymore ignore the clarion call to retire from the blaze of public glory and get lost in the sky-like freedom of Jivan Mukti by embracing sannyasa. What is it? Yajnavalkya was very famous. He could defeat all scholars. He was respected and regarded by everybody as the greatest Brahmajnani of that period. And where? In a capital like Mithila, which was the center of learning of Bharatvarsha. See, he could not anymore ignore the clarion call to retire from the blaze of public glory and get lost in the sky-like freedom of Jivan Mukti by embracing sannyasa. See, this freedom of Jivan Mukti, it doesn't come unless we take to sannyasa. Jivan Mukti will be there, but the joy of Jivan Mukti, for that sannyasa is very important. Sannyasa means coming away from all the blood and ties of blood and matrimony and become a wanderer under the sky. He deeply pondered over how his two wives would react to his decision. Now see the conflict in the mind. Such a great person and such great wives, both the wives. Will they not have lot of pure love between them, amongst themselves? So how can he leave such scholarly wives who are given to spiritual sadhana also? How could he leave them? Will his mind not get filled with grief? This is where we are landing on the real subject. It is much more than Arjuna's, it is another kind of a grief. Arjuna had also a kind of a grief. And to relieve him from the grief, Krishna had to introduce the Sankhya Yoga. And then Arjuna became a seeker, asking many questions. In this case, the grief is of another kind. He has to leave his two wives, not because the wives do not want them, not because he has quarreled with the wives or the children. Everybody is all right, everybody is fine, of the best, highest class, and you have to leave them. Can you imagine? Not running away from home. Real sannyasa is not running away from home. It is embracing the whole world. Think of Buddha, think of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All have done it. Not for running away from home, but to embrace the whole world as his own. Hence follow the sections 2.4 and 4.5 of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Now, there in the Guru Purnima, I had started the mantras from there on. Here, I am not going into those mantras. My interest here is to speak about this background story and then come to some mantras to give you that how spirituality is attained here. I will speak from further on. Yajnavalkya, after imparting the knowledge of Atma to Maitreyi, left for sannyasa. He was traversing from place to place as a Jivan Mukta, imparting the highest knowledge to the deserving seekers. Maitreyi too, later on, embraced the ascetic life, moving about from place to place and living on alms, bhiksha. A great Vedantin, she composed the Maitreyi Upanishad. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is replete with clear directions on the spiritual and ethical importance of sannyasa ashrama. The Jabala Upanishad, belonging to the Shukla Yajurveda, also expounds and explains the guidelines for taking up sannyasa direct from brahmacharya. The exposition of sannyasa life, it's very much there in Brihadaranyaka also, grihastha life as well. Everything in life is spoken of there. Jabala Upanishad, the one mantra which is very famous is Yadahareva virajet, tadahareva prabrajet. Yat aha eva virajet. Aha means day. Viraja means Raja, opposite of Raja. That means the moment your desires are gone, your tendency to always remain active, motivation to remain active, to fulfill some desire and become happy, that is gone. Yat aha eva, the day you become free of the Rajas. Tat aha eva prabrajet, that day itself you should leave, walk off. This is Jabala Upanishad. Yadahareva virajet, tadahareva prabrajet. There are many other instructions given in Jabala Upanishad. Now, what is going to happen to Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi? Because Yajnavalkya has to tell that I am going to leave both of you. So finally one day he called Maitreyi and told that, because Maitreyi was already given to full spiritual practice, he told Maitreyi, this is where the Brihadaranyaka starts, I am going to renounce householder life to take to the higher order of life, sannyasa. Permit me. I would therefore like to divide the property between you and Katyayani. That whatever property, he had a lot of property, he was a rich ascetic, a rich rishi. Because the king used to give thousands of cows full of all kinds of gold, ornament, this and that, and all was being kept there. He had enough property, that is mentioned. So when he told about the division of the property, Maitreyi immediately said, O Lord, if the entire earth filled with all the wealth becomes mine, by that will I become immortal? What did Maitreyi say? If the entire earth becomes mine, will I become immortal? Yajnavalkya said, no, surely not. Your life will be like that of the people who own a lot of wealth. There is no hope of attaining immortality through wealth, O Maitreyi. Immortality cannot be attained through wealth, Maitreyi. Maitreyi said, this statement is quoted everywhere. Yenaham amritas nasyam tenaham kim kuriyam. Bhagavan yadeva veda tadeva me bruhiti. Maitreyi said, what am I to do with that by which I cannot attain immortality? O Bhagavan, tell me, O Lord, whatever you know about attaining immortality. Maitreyi is not interested in this property. Are you able to hear the resonance of Nachiketa? He told Yamaraja that all these chariots, dances and the kingdom of the entire earth and lifetime for thousands of years, O Yamaraja, let them all belong to you. Nachiketa is not interested in them. Why? Na vittena tarpaniyo manusyo. Wealth can never satisfy anybody. So Maitreyi said, what am I to do with that by which I cannot attain immortality? Yajnavalkya said, oh dear, you have been dear to me, to us, and now what you are saying also is dear to me. Come, sit, I shall explain to you how to attain immortality. But while I explain, you must one-pointedly ponder and meditate, nididhyasana is the word used, on my exposition. Because this is the last exposition he is giving to Maitreyi. And she has to absorb the whole truth from there. A knower always exposes the same truth. He knows only one truth. But the exposition depends on the state and need of the inquiring disciple. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had to first assuage the grief of Arjuna through exposition of Sankhya Yoga, the truth of our real self. Soon Arjuna was relieved of the grief and started putting significant enquiries as a seeker of Shreyas, the ultimate good. Here Yajnavalkya is taking leave from his beloved wife Maitreyi to embrace sannyasa. Naturally, there must have been great pain of viraha, the pain of separation, in Maitreyi's mind also. Taking that into account, the instruction starts with an analysis of love and a clear understanding of love, which takes us to self. See? There it was war dialogue, and he is repeatedly asking Arjuna, Yuddhasva, tasmad yuddhasva. Therefore, Arjuna, you fight. Why? The moment you are not supposed to fight with enmity, but it has to be done because of for the welfare of the society. For that, even if you have to kill your grandfather or teacher, you have to. Therefore, yuddhasva bharata. And here he starts the instruction with love, because it is the love which is important there. Yajnavalkya is going to leave Maitreyi, his beloved wife, and also Katyayani, his other beloved wife. And what is he saying about love? He says, my dear Maitreyi, it is not for the sake of the husband that the husband becomes dear. Please mark the words. My dear Maitreyi, it is not for the sake of the husband that the husband becomes dear, but for the sake of one's own self. It is not for the sake of the wife, my dear, that she becomes dear to the husband, but it is for the sake of one's own self. He goes on like that. It is not for the sake of the sons that the sons become dear. It is for the love for one's own self. All that we love that are dear to us are for the sake of our own self. Oh Maitreyi. Atma va are Maitreyi drashtabhyaha shrotabhyaha mantabhyaha nididhyasitabhyaha Atmano va are darshanena shravanena matya vijnanena idam sarvam viditam. The self, dear Maitreyi, should be perceived, realized, should be heard of, reflected upon, and meditated upon with one-pointedness. By the realization of the self, my dear, through hearing, reflection and vijnana, everything becomes known. See, here also he is mentioning the same as in Mundaka Upanishad. By knowing what, everything becomes known. By knowing the self, everything becomes known. And here, how can you know the self? When the names and forms overwhelm our mind, we forget that they are all enfolded by the self. We reject them from our Atmiya fold. When we are loving our husband, we forget that actually we are loving because I am happy by loving the husband. And mostly, if the husband behaves in a different manner, we don't love anymore. What does it mean? We have to investigate all these things. So when we look into the very love, it is a self property, the self parameter of our real identity, the Atma. Because its nature is to embrace the whole world. That is what is called love. Love is the force which embraces the whole world. We are not able to have the clarity about it. So we want to have the rasa of love by loving small, small things. That can never be permanent, imperishable love at all. So here Yajnavalkya starts with the first instruction is about love. And he says that, Maitreyi, if you are suffering, know that the love for which you are suffering, it is love for yourself. And when you know yourself, that love will be fulfilled. Otherwise, by loving your husband, the love is never going to be fulfilled. One day the husband will die. What are you going to do then? So you have to know where from that love is coming. It is the love for your own self. And know that self, then everything will be fulfilled. We will stop. I don't know whether you like to listen to all these things. You will really start liking when you can imagine the whole picture, the culture of our country. The culture of erudition, the culture of truth-seeking, the culture of purity, the culture of liberality, the culture of embracing the whole world. Our Shastras say, when the whole world becomes like one nest of a bird, the whole world becomes like a single nest. Okay. Om Bhadram Karnebhiः Shrunuyama Devaः Bhadram Pashyemaksha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraः Sthirairangaistuštuvamsastanubhih Vyashema devahitam yadayuh Swasti na indro vriddhashravah Swasti na pusha vishvavedah Swasti nastakshyo arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatirdadhatu Om Shanti 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti